What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday, new week, new video. It's your boy Ruben. I'm gonna do this video a little differently. I wasn't able to break down each and every team before the NFL season started, which was my goal. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and break down each conference, starting with the NFC, and let's just go ahead and dive right into this. So the NFC North reads like this to me. I think it's the Green Bay Packers division to lose. A lot of people are down on them because they feel like they didn't do enough to improve. But I would argue that they were already a really good team. My only complaint would be I don't really think they did enough to shore up the run defense. But as long as they're dictating pace with their running game, a lot of teams couldn't stop their running game, and then you still have that bad man, Aaron Rodgers, right, slinging the ball around. I like Alan Lazard. I like Devontae Adams. I like Equanimeous St. Brown. I like Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I think they have enough weapons. I think their running game is really good. Their pass rush is really good. Their secondary is really good. This team is as a complete a team as you're going to find in the NFL. I really hope that schematically they do better against the run. If they run into a team like the 49ers again, who ran through them in the playoffs, it could be problematic. But this is a really good team. I like the way they're built. This is their division in my mind. Now, number 2 would probably go to the Vikings. And I really think it's a toss-up between the Vikings and the Bears. And let me tell you why. So starting with the Vikings, I like the way they're retooling on the fly. Typically teams end up, sticking with certain players until the cap dictates that they just have to dump everybody and start over. In this situation, I like the way they're retooling. Instead of doing that, what they've done is they've kept like a lot of their foundational pieces, while groomed other pieces to take up the mantle. So they lost a lot of corners in their secondary, but they replaced them with Jeff Gladney, which was a first round pick, 4.3 speed, really good corner. They also picked up Cam Dantzler, who I actually think has more potential than Gladney. Combine that with the fact that they have an 18 first rounder, Mike Hughes, that was ready to go ahead and take up the mantle at corner. You got Harrison Smith and Anthony Harris at the safety, as good a safety tandem as you're going to have. They brought in Dom Capers to give them some blitz packages that will probably better utilize Anthony Barr, and they're going to need it considering that Danielle Hunter has an undisclosed injury, and they traded for Yannick Ngakoue. Pass rush wise, this team is on point. But I think the fact that they have so many moving parts, right? They have so many new faces is ultimately going to cost them the division maybe this year. But I like the way they're set up next year and for the future. Like this could be habitually their division within the next couple years, depending on how the Green Bay situation pans out with Aaron Rodgers and whatnot. They even got rid of Stephon Diggs and his contract and brought in Justin Jefferson. Like everybody to let go of, I love the players they brought in to replace them. So gun to my head, I think the Vikings end up second here. Now, this with the new 7 teams to enter the playoffs, there could be 3 teams that come from this division that actually make it. And if that is the case, then I think the Bears would be the next team. I really do like the way the Bears are set up. Really good defense. Brought in Robert Quinn to complement Khalil Mack. That's going to be a problem. Akeem Hicks, as long as he stays healthy, it's going to bring the pain up the middle, stop the run. This defense could be really formidable. Again, like they were the year before, injuries kind of shook them up a little bit, so they weren't quite what we're used to seeing. But the weakness here, same weakness every year. Mitchell Trubisky. He's going to be starting this year, at least to begin the year. And I actually agree with it because considering COVID-19, you might want to go with the guy that has the experience and the fact that he's mobile. The Bears' biggest weakness was their offensive line. And at least Mitchell Trubisky can move around, knows the system. Nick Foles, I don't think he's really all that good when the pressure's on. Look at his stints in other places where they didn't have a good offensive line. Enough said. And you can always go to Nick Foles when Trubisky doesn't work out. It allows Trubisky to get one more look before you finally say, you know what, it's just peace, right? So the Bears, gun to my head, third in this division, which leaves the Lions. And this is not a knock on the Lions. I'm not trying to diss them. They have so many weapons. Matt Stafford, Kenny Galladay, Marvin Jones, TJ Hawkinson, the tight end. They've made some moves to try to improve the offensive line, which was also a weakness, which got Matt Stafford killed. I like the way they were running their offense when Matt Stafford was healthy. And I know a lot of Detroit heads were really high on the way they looked when Matt Stafford was healthy because they didn't win a single game when he went down. Now, again, really talented team, and they did do a lot of lateral moves on the defensive end because they got rid of a lot of players and then they brought in players to replace them. It just feels like to me that they can't seem to really get out of their own way. They could surprise this year because they, again, weapons galore, and if they field at least a decent defense, they could be an interesting team. But ultimately, they're in a really good division, which I can't help but pick them to be last. And that doesn't mean that they're going to go like 3-13, which they could go. It just means that they're the fourth best in this division. If maybe they were in a different division, you could be looking at a potential wild card berth. With that being said, let's go ahead and move to the NFC West. And this division is the guts and glue division of this conference. Well, you could argue the NFC South, but before I get into that, NFC West. 49ers, I think, is their division to lose. I think they're built to last. There's so much talent on defensive and offensive lines, which is how you build a team to last. They'll be duking it out with Seattle for years to come, in my mind. But I love the defense, love Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Richard Sherman, getting up there in age. They do have some, deficiencies in the secondary, but it's kind of masked by the scheme and how good a pass rush they are. There is the risk of a Super Bowl hangover, but I think this is a well-coached team. They run the ball really well. Dating back to Mike Shanahan, it's a really running back friendly system. They got playmakers at wide receiver. They've really kind of tooled up on the weapons this year. Could be a scary team. It wouldn't be surprising to me to see Seattle win the division, but I really think it's neck and neck with them. Seattle, they got Russell Wilson, man, the magic man. The dude makes things happen. They play bend but don't break defense. Went ahead and made the move to bring in Jamal Adams. I don't really care for how much they gave up for him. However, he is a big play defensive player. He's gonna matter. The only thing is that I don't think they have a premier pass rusher, which I alluded to in a previous video. But with Russell Wilson and now the weapons that he's got, DK Metcalf with another year under his belt, and they brought in Philip Dorsett with his speed. The sky's the limit for this team, in my opinion. I wouldn't be surprised if they win this division, but I think it's San Fran, them. I think Seattle makes the playoffs probably as a wild card. And then behind them, okay, I'm going to make the bold prediction of saying, and maybe it's not that bold, but the Cardinals will be the third team in this division. I like what they did with bringing in Hopkins for Kyler Murray. Isaiah Simmons was a draft crush for me. Patrick Peterson and Chandler Jones, great Pro Bowl type of players. The only thing is I don't feel like their Super Bowl window is open, and you got to ask yourself if they're not better off just going ahead and getting value in return for Patrick Peterson and Chandler Jones. Wouldn't be surprised if they're trade deadline casualties, seeing that when they see that, they're probably not going to make the playoffs, and you don't want to wait till it's too late to get value for those guys. They could sneak in. Again, there's 7 teams that are going to make the playoffs this year, so they could surprise and sneak in with that. I personally don't see it considering the division they're in. But I like what they're doing. I like the direction they're heading. This is the team is coming, and which leads me to the Rams. The Rams are in a special kind of salary cap hell, especially after signing Jalen Ramsey to a $100 million contract. I think you're going to really start seeing the demise of the Rams starting this year, and the Cardinals, with their improvement, could have knocked them to the basement of this division. And bold prediction, maybe not this year, but I think Sean McVay's on the hot seat next year, and you could potentially see a situation where he gets fired after next year because of it's not even his fault. It's the way they've managed the cap. You got great players, but you haven't built a good cohesive unit chemistry wise, right? And now it's costing you to lose the players that helped you get to that Super Bowl window. I think their Super Bowl window is closed. I think they mismanaged the cap so bad, and that's where I have them. NFC South, what can I say? Tom Brady, and could he have stepped into a better situation? They're 3 deep at tight end. Mike Evans, Godwin, fantasy sleeper, Scotty Miller, Ronald Jones, Shady McCoy, Leonard Fournette. They drafted who I think was the best lineman in the draft, Tristan Wirfs. Even with that being said, he's a rookie. I think their line was still a little shaky, but Tom Brady excels at getting the ball, which brings in the question of how he coexists with Bruce Arians, who is a guy that likes to throw the ball deep, which means it takes time, which means you have to block. So it'll be interesting to see. And if, I personally think Tom Brady didn't look good last year, and that age is catching up to him. But this could be a situation where the talent is so good around him that it might not matter. It might not matter. They might sneak into the playoffs as a wild card, in my opinion, because this is the number 2 team in this division. Their defensive front 7 is one of the best in football. Vita Vea, Ndamukong Suh, JPP, Shaquille Barrett, Devin White, Levante David. Great. I love the draft pick of Antoine Winfield to help fix their secondary. Their corners are a little young, and this is a team that has issues in the secondary as well. But if they become a front-running type of team with all the weapons that they have, and they can control the pace of the game, this is going to be a problem for a lot of teams. They're number 2 because the Saints are just more stacked than them. They might not have the as many offensive weapons, and I might even be being blasphemous there, because you got Taysom Hill, Drew Brees, Taysom Hill, Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders. It just doesn't stop. Okay, so with that being said, this team is stacked. They've had a bad couple of years or whatever, and as long as the clip doesn't come from Drew Brees, this team is poised to take this division. Now, it could be a little bit of a dogfight between them and the Bucks, but I expect them to ultimately come out on top. Malcolm Jenkins is going to be a good addition, veteran addition to that secondary behind Lattimore and Janoris Jenkins. They're a little bit weak at linebacker, but Demario Davis is one of the better ones. And Cam Jordan, if Marcus Davenport and Sheldon Rankin stay healthy this year, it's going to be a problem. Which leads me to the next team, which will be 3rd, and it's Atlanta. Another team full of weapons, love what they do offensively. Matt Ryan got beat to hell. They've done, they've made a couple moves here and there to try to tweak the line to make it better. I think they brought in Todd Gurley that's going to help take some pressure off him. And if they're able to control the pace as well, he doesn't have to hold the ball as much to get hit. And when you're dictating, that's when you're really in trouble, when you got Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley's coming. The defense, I still think is suspect. You got a lot of, in my mind, they brought in Dante Fowler, and they got Tackers. They got McKinley on the other end, and Deion Jones in the middle. These are all great athletes, right? But what I see is a lot of great athletes and not a lot of great football instincts. So they're running around, flying around, and occasionally make the play, but it's more like you don't see the guy that's making the great mental plays to take over games, right? And I think that's what they're missing. But their defense is athletic enough to make things interesting, but this division pushes them in the 3rd spot. The last spot would be Carolina. Big changes were made. New head coach, new quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater, CMC. I love him, but with everything going on, I can't seem to believe that he's going to do the same thing he did last year. The old line is kind of patchwork worthy. They drafted all defensive players, which I find interesting and it's cool. But with that many rookies, that many young players, you have to think that there's going to be a lot of rookie mistakes. Luke Kuechly retired. Just like I was saying about the Atlanta Falcons, you're going to miss a lot of that veteran leadership that you're going to need, and that's going to be a problem for them. They might be set up pretty well for the future, but as of right now in this division, they're last. Which brings me to the division that I saved for last because my boys, the Cowboys, are in it, and I'm going to leave them for last. The Redskins, I think, are going to be at the bottom of this division, but that's not to say that that I think that it's all bad for them. I just think this is an up and coming division, very young. They hired Ron Rivera. I'm a fan of his hard-nosed coaching style. I think their defense is coming with Montez Sweat, Chase Young, Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Matt Ioannidis, Ryan Kerrigan. Not sure if this is the year that's all going to gel for them, but these are all names that make me think that the future is bright for them. They're a little weak at linebacker, or really weak at linebacker, and they're really weak in the secondary. Offense is a problem as well. I know I just gave them big ups with they have names. They still got to make a name with those names, right? Haskins, I was really high coming on with him coming out in the draft last year. I was really disappointed. He looked unprepared. They didn't expect him to play, and he looked like he didn't expect to play, which makes me question what's going on mentally. But after how bad he looked, and there was actual rumors about him getting Josh Rosen, because there were rumors about them possibly taking Tua and just saying, hey, thanks for everything, Dwayne Haskins. Hopefully that put a battery in his back. But they haven't done him any favors either. The O-line, they lost Trent Williams. They lost Eric Flowers, who actually was becoming a decent guard. Scherf is always hurt. Like the O-line has its problems. And they don't have very many weapons that they supplied them with. Then they even got rid of Adrian Peterson, which was probably a good veteran he could have used to lean on. So just, food for thought there. This isn't the year. They're still at the bottom, but the future's bright for Washington, which leads me to the next team, which would be third in my mind, is the Giants. I think the Giants are going to be a team that gives people problems this year, at least offensively. Saquon's special, but I think he needs to improve his patience. He needs to learn to take 3 yards if it's there, instead of trying to hit the home run every play. It's cost them a lot of yards, and it kills a lot of drives. He hits a lot of home runs, but he also stalls a lot of drives too. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, "Oh, well, look what he did," right? Great. He's a good running back. If he's gonna be great, his vision and patience got to be better. Daniel Jones, if he fixes the turnover issue, shows a lot of promise. They have some underrated weapons and have been building slowly on the offensive line. I just don't think they have the difference makers on defense. They do have Dexter Lawrence, Leonard Williams, that should make them, at least decently stout against the run up front. But the linebackers aren't special, and corner is a problem, especially with DeAndre Baker probably going to jail, allegedly for robbing or whatever the situation was. He's no longer with the team, and he was their first round pick. Even with Logan Ryan, the secondary is a problem. I like McKinley and Jabril Peppers at safety. However, they lack some speed, and so you could be susceptible to. They're in a division with teams with explosive playmakers, so can't help to think that they're anything better than third. Now, my second place team. Sorry, Philly fans. I don't think this is the year for y'all. I know you're going to be thinking, I know you guys are thinking I'm a homer, because if you've been following me long enough, I'm a Cowboy fan, but hear me out. Okay. I think Wentz is very good, but I think they try to get faster, provide weapons, which I'll say, so the speed is scary on the team. However, the injuries and the age on the offensive line is going to be a problem, especially considering the way Wentz likes to hold the ball, and his penchant for getting hurt. They do return a stout front forward Graham, Fletcher Cox. They picked up Javon Hargrave, which was a nice little pickup. Malik Jackson should be back. But I don't see an elite pass rush. I see an okay pass rush, even above average pass rush, but not elite. And they have virtually nothing in my mind at linebacker. They got some young speed there, but nothing that I would consider reliable. Losing Malcolm Jenkins is also going to be a problem. They lost some leadership in that secondary. They do have talented corners, and they even improved Darius Slay. I don't think they're going to be trash. And they may even, sneak in. Again, there's 7 spots available this year for the playoffs. They might even sneak in as a wild card. I just think they have a lot going on to overcome. With that being said, my boys, the Cowboys, I think they win this division because they've been the most talented team in this division, top to bottom, for years to come. The problem with this team is they've had a tendency to kind of read their own press clippings, and they kind of have a tendency to play down to their competition, which I blame on leadership. And for years, a lot of us have been beating the drum that Jason Garrett had to go. Now that he's gone, I'd like to think that Mike McCarthy, who's a Super Bowl winning coach, can fix a lot of the leadership issues that they were having. I can think of 2 instances where the Cowboys lost games directly due to coaching. If you look at the way Jason Garrett coached the end of the Patriots game, and you look at the way he coached at the end of, I want to say, the Bears game, cost them those games. And remember, this was a team, they went 8-8. They didn't go 5-11, which some people will have you believe. It came down to that last game at Philly, which, granted, they lost to Philly, but if coaching didn't lose them a couple games, that game wouldn't even have mattered and they'd have been in the playoffs. I don't imagine coaching is going to be the issue this year, and they even got stronger with the addition of CeeDee Lamb at wide receiver. Ezekiel Elliott's a top 5 running back. Dak Prescott has shown that he can, really make big plays. And one hitch here is the loss of Travis Frederick, and I'm a little worried about how fast they're going to start, being that La'el Collins right now is hurt with the combination of Travis Frederick being gone. But I really do think this is the year the talent gels. On the defensive side of the ball, you can't ask for too much of a better front 7. They signed Dontari Poe. Tristan Hill is a young up-and-coming D tackle. Neville Gallimore is a nice inside pass rusher. The steal of free agency, Everton Griffin, DeMarcus Lawrence there's no reason he shouldn't return back to Pro Bowl form. And at worst, he'll be very good. If you get anything from Aldon Smith, that's a cherry on top. They get Leighton Vander Esch back. That was a big deal last year. He was sorely missed. There's speed everywhere in the front 7. There's a couple questions in the secondary. The safeties leave a little bit to be desired, but they have a couple corners, young ones, that I think might see some time at safety, and they might even sign Earl Thomas. The safeties are the question mark, but as far as corners go, we have athletes galore with Anthony Brown, Trevon Diggs, Chido Awuzie, Reggie Robinson. We are ready to roll this year. So don't take my word for it. Let's just see how it all pans out. But if you're building a team, I don't think there's too many teams short of the Chiefs that can field the kind of talent the Cowboys have this year. So that's my picks for the NFC. Cowboys, San Fran, Green Bay, and Cowboys, San Fran, Green Bay, and the Saints win their divisions. You could get 2 teams, which will allow the Vikings, Bears, and Seahawks opportunities to get in. I think the Seahawks definitely get in. That 7th spot, you might get that Chicago Bears sneak in, or even the Cardinals if they surprise. So that's it for today, guys. That's the NFC. I'm going to hit you guys with the AFC, hopefully within the next day or so. And let me know what you think in the comments. If you guys want me to break down your team, I'll give a more detailed breakdown per request leave it in the comments. Please subscribe and like to the Fan Smarter YouTube channel. All you have to do is go to the link, click like, and hit the bell so you know when I drop a video. And questions, I'm all for it. Let's talk. Football is back. Peace out.